What if your child didn't just show up in your life, but returned to it? What if the bond you feel wasn't born the day they arrived, but was already alive long before that, maybe even before this lifetime? It's not an easy idea to grasp, but sometimes the soul whispers truths that logic tries to dismiss. There are connections that feel older than time. A look, a gesture, a presence that says, "I've known you before." As if that soul found a way to come back to you. Some say that the deepest relationships aren't coincidences, they're reunions. And when it comes to a child, that feels even more real. What we often call parenthood might actually be a sacred dance between two souls who chose each other before form existed. This isn't about romanticizing anything. It's about recognizing that some bonds are bigger than biology. This child didn't happen to you. They happened for you. And maybe, just maybe, they came to remind you of something you once knew. Think about it. How many times has your child touched a part of you that no one else could reach? Sometimes through a word, other times just through silence. They didn't come just to be raised. They came to raise something inside you. And maybe, while you think you're raising a child, you're actually being rebuilt by them. So take a breath and just listen. If any of this speaks to you, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Because what comes next might awaken something you've been waiting a lifetime to remember. Most people think their child came by chance, a surprise, a plan, a biological event. But what if that's not true? What if the soul who calls you mom or dad didn't just appear, but returned? Returned not as a stranger, but as someone who's known your soul across lifetimes. Maybe you didn't choose them. Maybe they chose you. This isn't a video about parenting techniques or raising perfect children. It's about something deeper, the spiritual contract behind the bond. Because when a child is born, it's not just a new life arriving. It's a mirror, a message, a turning point. Khalil Gibran said, "Your children come through you, but not from you." And Yogananda once reminded us that a soul never enters our life without meaning. So if you've ever looked into your child's eyes and felt something familiar, this is for you. Don't listen with your mind. Listen with the part of you that remembers, the part that knows. Because once you understand the why behind your child's presence, everything changes. Your parenting, your healing, your purpose, and maybe even your past. This isn't a video about parenting tips or how to make your child listen better. It's not about routines, techniques, or tricks. It's about something deeper, something quiet, sacred, and often overlooked. It's about seeing parenthood not as a task, but as a spiritual journey. When a child is born, it's not just a baby entering the world. A mirror is born too, a reflection that shows us what still needs healing, remembering, transforming. And no book can teach you that. Only your own soul can recognize it. Spiritual teachers like Yogananda, Gibran, and Eckhart Tolle have all hinted at this truth. The children are not just here to be guided. Sometimes they are here to guide. The love between parent and child is a bridge that reaches beyond this lifetime. Khalil Gibran once wrote, "Your children are not your children. They come through you, but not from you." That may sound poetic, maybe even too poetic, but anyone who has ever paused long enough to listen with their heart knows there's something true in that silence. So don't rush to understand it all. Just stay. Just listen. Not with your mind, but with your open heart. This video wasn't made to tell you how to be a better parent by someone else's standards. It was made to remind you of something your soul already knows, something you may have forgotten. And sometimes all the soul needs is space to be heard, a pause, a moment of stillness, because that's often where the real transformation begins, in the quiet place where the soul of a parent finally meets the soul of their child. Long before the first heartbeat, before the name was chosen, before the body was even formed, some believe a silent agreement had already been made. A soul agreement beyond time and logic, where you and your child chose each other, not by accident, but with purpose. Imagine a cosmic stage where each soul rehearses its role before the play begins, and in that sacred space, you said yes. Yes to love, yes to learning, yes even to pain. Because some lessons can only come through the ones who touch us the most. At first, this may sound strange, but how many times have you felt like your child already knew something you didn't? As if they came here carrying a secret message, a reminder of something you once promised to face? These soul contracts aren't always easy. Sometimes they come with challenges, with conflict, with deep emotions. But even in the hardest moments, there's often a quiet invitation. Evolve, grow, break the cycle. Because sacred connections aren't about comfort, they're about transformation. Think about everything that's shifted in your life since your child arrived. The joys, the fears, the unexpected depth. That soul didn't just land in your life by chance. They heard a call only you could answer. And maybe the reason you can't shake this bond, no matter what happens, is because you're still living that sacred agreement. An agreement that didn't begin here, and doesn't end here either. And when you really start to listen to that truth, it changes the way you see everything. There's something deeply revealing about raising a child. One moment you're fine, And the next, you're triggered over something small, something innocent. But if you pause, you might notice it wasn't about what your child did. It was about what it touched in you. The old wounds, the forgotten fears, the emotions you buried just to keep going. Children, without even knowing it, become mirrors. Not the kind that flatters, but the kind that reflects exactly what you've avoided looking at. And that reflection doesn't come through big speeches. It comes through a question that hits too deep. A tantrum that mirrors your own unspoken rage. A silence that echoes something you felt as a child. The child isn't trying to provoke. They're simply being. But in that being, they reveal. They shine light on the parts of you still waiting to be held. Still waiting to be healed. No one else can reach those places like a child can. And maybe that's not a coincidence. So the real work isn't just in correcting them, it's in correcting your own lens, asking yourself, what is this moment trying to teach me? That kind of awareness transforms parenthood into a journey of self-discovery. Not an easy one, but a necessary one. Because when you realize your child isn't against you, but for your growth, things shift. And from that shift, a new kind of relationship is born. One where love is not just given, but deeply understood. Every family carries invisible threads, patterns passed down like silent inheritance. Guilt, emotional distance, unspoken pain, perfectionism, or fear. And sometimes a child is born who doesn't follow the script. They push boundaries, ask too many questions, refuse to just accept. At first, it feels like conflict, but beneath that tension, there's something sacred. A break in the cycle. What looks like rebellion may actually be the beginning of healing, because not everything passed down needs to be repeated. That child may be labeled as too sensitive, too wild, too much. But maybe they're just too awake to keep living in silence. It's as if their soul came with a crack of light, the kind that breaks open what's been shut tight for generations. This kind of disruption isn't chaos, it's clarity. When one child refuses to carry the weight of the past, the entire lineage feels the shift. And even if it starts with struggle, what comes after has the power to set everyone free. Of course, this isn't an easy path. Breaking cycles means facing the very things others learn to avoid. But healing doesn't have to be a lonely mission. When a child wakes up the system, it's not just about their freedom. It's a call for everyone to evolve. And if you're here, listening with an open heart, maybe you already feel that this is your role, not to continue the story, merchant, but to rewrite it. And sometimes, rewriting begins with a single question. What if this child came to save all of us? We grow up thinking it's the parent who teaches, the parent who leads, guides, shows the way. But what if sometimes the child is the one sent to wake something up in you? Some fathers only understood compassion after holding their newborn. Some mothers only found their strength when their child needed defending. Children have this quiet power. They bring up feelings you didn't even know you had. They don't come to just be raised. Sometimes they come to raise something buried inside of you. There are stories of parents who finally forgave their own childhood after becoming parents, who softened their hearts, opened their wounds, reconnected with lost parts of themselves, all because of a child's presence. Not through lectures, but through the simple, raw magic of being. A child asking, "Why are you sad, Mommy?" can shake a wall that's been standing for decades. They're not therapists, but they're messengers, wrapped in innocence, reminding us of who we were before the world told us who to be. So the next time you feel frustrated, overwhelmed, or pushed to your edge, pause. Maybe this isn't about them. Maybe it's about you. Maybe your child is here to help you feel what you stopped allowing yourself to feel, to show you where you've closed off, and in doing so, offer you the one thing your own inner child has been craving: healing. Not through perfection, but through presence, through connection, through love that doesn't always make sense, but always makes a difference. When people hear the word karma, they often think of punishment, something you deserve for past mistakes. But what if that's a misunderstanding? In many spiritual teachings, karma isn't about blame, it's about growth. It's not a sentence, it's a call, a path chosen by the soul to learn, evolve, and awaken. And sometimes that path shows up through the child who challenges you the most, the one who disrupts your peace, pushes your limits, tests your patience, and opens your heart in the process. You may wonder, why is my child so difficult, or what did I do to deserve this? But maybe that's not the right question. Maybe the real question is, what is my soul being asked to face through this child? Because karmic relationships aren't always easy, but they're always meaningful. These children aren't here to punish us. They're here to help us grow, to reflect what's unresolved, to expand our capacity to love in ways we never thought possible. That's karma too, not as a burden, but as transformation. Seeing karma this way changes everything. It shifts the lens from guilt to purpose, from resentment to reverence. You're not being punished with this relationship. You're being invited into your next level of growth. And if you can see your child not just as a challenge, but as a guide, things begin to shift. Because karmic love isn't soft, but it's sacred. It wakes you up, shakes you, strips you of illusion, and what's left is something incredibly real, a love that evolves both souls at once. Some children feel older than they are, not just in how they speak, but in how they see. They ask questions no one prepared you for. They notice things others overlook. There's a quiet knowing in them, as if they've lived many lifetimes before. You look into their eyes and feel like they remember something you forgot. These are the children who often don't fit in. Not because they're lost, but because they're here with a different kind of light. A wisdom that doesn't come from books, but from the soul. These kids might be hypersensitive, intuitive, imaginative, or deeply empathic. They might talk to animals, have vivid dreams, or say things that sound like poetry. And sadly, the world often tries to label them too much, too quiet, too strange. But what if those traits aren't flaws? What if they're gifts that haven't been understood yet? These children don't need fixing. They need space. Space to remember who they are, and adults who don't shut down their magic out of fear or discomfort. As a parent, your role isn't to mold them into something familiar. It's to protect their difference, to honor their way of seeing the world, to let them teach you too. Because these souls might be carrying pieces of wisdom that the world desperately needs to hear again. And if they chose to come through you, there's a reason. Maybe part of your mission is to help them remember theirs, to keep their light alive, even when it shines in unfamiliar colors. Especially then. There's a fine line between protecting and controlling, and it's often crossed out of fear. Fear of losing, of failing, of something going wrong. But when love becomes fear in disguise, it stops being nurturing and starts becoming confining. Controlling a child doesn't mean you love them more. It usually means you trust them less, and trust is what their soul truly needs to grow. Your child didn't come here to fulfill your plan. They came to follow their own. Your role isn't to steer their every step, it's to nourish the soil beneath their feet. Think of it like a tree. You are the roots, grounded, supportive, unseen but vital. Your child is the trunk that rises, the branches that reach, the leaves that dance. The roots don't choose where the branches grow, they simply hold firm and provide life. In the same way, your job isn't to cage your child's spirit, but to offer presence, love, and safety so they can rise. That takes strength, the strength to release the illusion of control and trust the path of another soul. Of course, boundaries matter, but guidance is not the same as domination. A spiritually grounded love says, I see you, I trust your becoming. I'll walk beside you, not ahead of you. When we love without trying to reshape, we create space for the soul to breathe. And in that space, something incredible happens. Connection deepens. The child doesn't run away, they draw closer, because the safest place to grow is the one where you're free to be fully yourself. Every child comes into this world carrying something unique. It doesn't matter if they're loud or quiet, outgoing or introspective. Each soul brings a purpose, a mission that might not be obvious at first, but it's there, unfolding. Sometimes it shows up in their passions, sometimes in their struggles. And as parents, our role isn't to assign a purpose, but to honor the one already within them. To hold space, listen deeply, and trust that their soul knows why it came, even when we don't understand it yet. Too often, we try to shape our children to fulfill our own dreams. Dreams we never got to live, but that's not guidance. It's projection. Your child wasn't born to complete you. They were born to complete themselves. And even the child who seems lost or difficult may be carrying a gift that the world hasn't learned to recognize. Many world changers were once misunderstood kids. And if you look deeper, you might see that your child isn't behind. They're just on a path only their soul can walk. Trusting that mission is an act of spiritual maturity. It means choosing to believe that your child's journey is guided, not by your expectations, but by something far greater. And perhaps your greatest contribution isn't in directing that path, but in protecting the space where it can unfold. Because when one soul is allowed to fulfill its purpose, it sends ripples through generations. And in helping your child remember why they came, you might just remember why you did too. So now that you've heard all this, what will you do with it? Will you keep seeing your child as just someone to raise, or as someone who came to raise something inside you? Because whether it's through joy or challenge, your connection with them isn't random, it's sacred. And behind every moment, even the messy ones, there's a spiritual invitation asking you to wake up, to remember, to grow. Can you look at your child today and ask, what are you here to show me? Or maybe, what part of me are you here to heal? Sometimes the greatest teachers don't come with titles. They come in tiny bodies, speaking simple truths. And if you felt that, even once, then something inside you is already awakening. That's not a coincidence. That's the contract being fulfilled. If this video touched you in any way, write in the comments, I was chosen by this soul. Let's create a space of reflection and connection. And if you want to keep going deeper into this kind of truth, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Because what we're building here isn't just content, it's a soul journey. And your place in it is no accident.